I'll get in trouble. Here we go. Okay, folks. Session number 3, week number 2 of our spring educational workshops. And so kind of winding it up for us today. We've got our DGN, soon to be DGE, Mr. Ted Fagel from Kauai, and Ted's going to talk a little bit about leadership opportunities within our clubs and also in our district. So should be pretty interesting. So Ted, take it away. It's all yours.
Great. Thanks, Benson. Good morning, everyone. If you just joined, there were a couple comments about my Zoom background a minute ago. This is part of the artwork for our Rotary International Convention in Melbourne, Australia this year. And this artwork behind me is actually Aboriginal dot painting. If you've been thinking about the International Convention or you haven't thought about it yet, there is still time to register. You can find information on our district website or go to convention.rotary.org. There are about 45 of us so far who are signed up to go from Hawaii, and there's room for many more of you to come along if you're willing, able, and can allocate the time. So that's our commercial sponsor for this morning. I'm happy and pleased to say that Laura Steelquist will be helping lead our discussion this morning, and we're going to focus on some leadership opportunities, first at the club level and then at the district level, and we'll mention a few others around Rotary, but that won't be our focus for today. So good morning and welcome. Also, this is going to be a little bit of a test for my technical abilities. I don't normally use PowerPoint on my Mac, and today so bear with me for a moment while I share my screen here.
And I just want to say thank you to Ted for taking the lead on this discussion and for being the person to set his PowerPoint up on his Mac so that I don't have to even think about that sort of thing, because I will be happy to join in and whenever he needs me. But we're hoping that you guys will be very interactive and will just ask all the questions that you wanted to ask in this non-threatening situation.
Yeah.
Great.
And I think I've already messed up here. Give me just 1 second. I shouldn't be testing new technology on all of you.
So Ted, if you want, you can always just email it to me. I can bring it up and run it for you if you want.
I think we're getting there now.
It's like, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember when Bill Gates had problems with his stuff on one of his presentations and everybody cheered, you know.
Yeah. Okay, hopefully you're all seeing a slide in front of you now. Yeah.
Yep, you're up and looking good, Ted.
Okay, great. So as I said, we're going to focus this morning primarily around leadership opportunities in our clubs and our district, and hopefully talk and share some ideas and best practices for how do we fill all of these roles and responsibilities in our clubs and our district. So Rotary really, to really boil things down into very, very simple terms, is boiled down into these 3 big bubbles. And I purposely put on the top of this picture our Rotary and Rotaract clubs. Our Rotaract clubs now have been elevated to be full members of Rotary. And this is where Rotary happens, is in our clubs. And I explain this to people every so often. They want Rotary to make some decision top down and tell everybody what to do. And I have to kind of explain that, well, we're really just a huge network of clubs who make their independent decisions. They set their own priorities. And yes, we do similar things and we follow a few parameters and rules, But for the most part, we decide with each other that we're going to collaborate on things. In terms of IRS tax reporting, our clubs are considered 501c4s. And in terms of governance, our clubs are governed by boards of directors. In a Rotaract club, that may just be a set of officers as opposed to a formal board. Then, of course, we all operate under the umbrella of Rotary International. There's another board of directors that governs Rotary International. Rotary International is also considered for tax purposes a 501c4 organization. So it's also not a tax deductible charity. But alongside that, we have the Rotary Foundation, which is a tax deductible charity. It is a 501c3 in IRS terms, and it's governed by a board of trustees. So while there are leadership opportunities in those Rotary International bubbles and that Rotary Foundation bubble, that's not what we're going to talk about today. But if you want to talk about any of those later with me or Laura, we'd be happy to talk with you about those. So let's talk first about some club leader opportunities. At our club level, sometimes I found that we have club members who think it's the president's role to do everything, or for them to delegate work upward to the president, tell the president what they want done in the club. And that's actually a backwards way of looking at it. A club president is somebody to organize and facilitate the club to take action. Think of them as sort of the orchestra conductor, that we're all there to contribute and serve a different role. And because we're Rotary, of course, we rotate around. We do one role one year, we may do a different role the next year, we may do a different role the next year. But the reason that we're doing all of those things is, of course, to take action. And you'll be hearing a lot more about this in the next couple of years. Hopefully you've already heard a little bit about this, or even a lot. But our Rotary vision statement, as you see here on the screen, is together we see a world where people unite being a key word, take action to create lasting change. Another key word, lasting change across the globe. So all of the work that we do with global grants, with Rotary friendship exchanges, all of our international projects in our communities where we're working to have local impact. And then, of course, in ourselves. How do we become better people, and how do we have a better impact in the world through our own behaviors and the ways that we interact with each other? So the reason that we have leaders and that we have different leadership roles is because this is what we're setting out to do together. So this is why we're all here, why we want to work together, and why we all pitch in and do different jobs and roles within Rotary. So in our clubs, we have a set of leadership roles, and these you're probably pretty familiar with at the highest level. Of course, we have a president, a vice president, a president-elect. Hopefully you also even have a president nominee. I should back up for a moment. At the top of the presentation, Benson introduced me as the DGN, and you may or may not know what he was talking about. The DGN means district governor nominee. And even when you hear district governor nominee, you still may not know what we're talking about. So the district governor nominee means that in the year 24-25, our Rotary fiscal year 2024-25, I will be the district governor. In the year prior to that, that's coming up, I'll be called the district governor elect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about district roles, but I bring that up now because that also relates to our club leadership positions, and having a line of succession having a depth of the leadership team in your club, and having continuity. And continuity is a common theme that you'll hear throughout Rotary, particularly in our part of the Rotary world, which is the Western US and across the United States. So that if you've been a long time Rotarian, you used to hear people talk about your year and what you're going to do in your year, and every year we sort of started over. That the new president or the new district governor, well, now they want to do this or they want to prioritize that, and we sort of flip-flopped every year around some of our priorities and the ways that we did things. Our thinking and our theme now in Rotary is continuity, that we have a rolling leadership team, we have an ongoing succession plan, and so we really have a team of 3 leaders at the top of our club, at the top of our district, who are kind of organizing and facilitating all of us. And those are the people that are serving in the current year, the president, in the next fiscal year being our president-elect, and then the fiscal year after that being our president nominee. So if your club hasn't talked about this yet, this is a good topic of conversation for you, of how do we build out better continuity and how do we have this rolling team of leaders so that we know for a 3-year time period who's going to be the leader in the club and how are they going to help us maintain that continuity of planning and priorities. Of course, key roles also in the club at an officer level are secretary and treasurer. And then where the real work of the club happens, so from my perspective, this is just Ted's perspective, these are the most important roles in your club, the directors and the committees. So at the club level, this is one of the sample organization charts that Rotary International provides for how to organize your club and what types of leadership you need in your club. Now, this is not a one-size-fits-all chart by any means. If you're a larger club, this is going to be a bigger chart with lots more committees and lots more leaders of committees and projects. If you're a smaller club, these may not be committees. These may be individuals. And these may be individuals who wear more than one of these hats on this chart. My club is in our district, a medium-sized club. So our club sort of fits this model. So a lot of medium-sized clubs sort of fit here. And what's here is, what are some of the critical roles? What are the things that we really need to be good at in our clubs in order to move forward, in order to work toward that vision, in order to implement our Rotary action plan of having more impact, more participant engagement, of having a better ability to adapt. So some of those key areas are, of course, I'm going to jump to the second column first, membership. Well, how do we have an impact if we don't have members? How do we have membership if we don't have our members, our participants engaged and feeling good and feeling productive and having fun at what we do in Rotary? Public image. How do people know that they want to become part of Rotary if they don't know what we do? The market research says that fewer than 10% in the United States of people surveyed know anything that Rotary clubs do. So how do they know they want to join us if they don't know that? So how do we communicate that? That also feeds into image. That feeds into how we have a bigger impact. Service projects, of course, one of the key reasons that we're in Rotary, people join Rotary, people stay in Rotary to have an impact in their local communities. So how are we organizing? How are we leading to do that? And then the Rotary Foundation. Some of us were just in the previous hour on district grants. Our district grant money comes from our contributions to the Rotary Foundation from 3 years prior, and being allocated back to us within our clubs to help us and enable us to do more projects, to have more impact. So we need leadership in each of these areas in order to work toward that vision, to implement that Rotary action plan. And of course, club administration, the club program, member communications, social events. It's important to have fun, have friends, fellowship within Rotary. So who's going to take care of that in the club? Who's going to be the lead in thinking about that, in organizing the rest of us to make it happen? And then, of course, we talked about the club officers and directors as sort of orchestrating and coordinating and making sure that communication is going back and forth between these different functions. And then at the bottom of the chart here is the club learning facilitator. Benson does this for us at the district level and does an outstanding job, but he can't do it within each and every club. So at the club level, making sure that everybody's aware of the learning resources that are available, that you're helping and coaching and pointing people to where and how to get the kind of training and the sharing of best practices that they need in order to be effective leaders. Now, let me pause there for a minute and ask you a question, which is, a lot of you have been around for a while in different club leadership roles. How do you go about getting people to serve in these roles in your club? What has worked and what challenges have you had? And I don't know if I can see all the hands raised, so go ahead and speak right up if I'm not able to see you.
This is Glenn from Honolulu Sunset. When I was president, and then since then, I've always said we need an understudy. Whoever's the lead for avenue of service or community service or international, you got to have an understudy that's kind of learning and somebody that's interested in, with the idea that, hey, you're gonna be the understudy this year, with the idea that you take it over next year, and then I'll be there, you know, as the lead, whoever that is, to back you up. But unless you get newer members and other people involved in this stuff, it's like what you said. Everybody looks at the president and thinks they're going to do everything, and it doesn't work that way. If you don't have the manpower and people who are trained properly, then you're never going to be able to grow, and you don't get into a situation where you're starting from scratch all over because all the expertise went out the door.
Right. Great point, Glenn. Benson, I know your club did a slight twist on this organization model, and you actually moved away from using the word committee. And would you want to share just a little bit about how your club has implemented this and how you're getting people involved in the different teams that you formed?
Yeah, sure, Chet. Thanks a lot. So our club was really impacted by COVID, and so we lost, you know, a good chunk of members, and so coming out of that, we had to reorganize. And one of the things we're looking at in our reorg is that the standing committees that we had in our club, and at one point our club was 68 people, and then it went from 68 down to 28. And so we reorganized to see if we could cover all of the things you know, that we wanted to do within our club, but not with, you know, 12 different committees. And so what we did is we reorganized it into 3 teams. We originally had 5, but then we decided to simplify it even more and put it into 3 teams versus 12 committees. And basically we had a finance group, which is a group that basically had the club treasurer in it. But it had all the HYRF scholarship folks in, had the district grant people in there, had the fundraising people in there. Anything that had to do with money was in that group. Then we had a meetings group, which basically organized anytime the club got together and met, whether it was a regular club meeting, it was a social meeting, it was a service project. Anytime the club organized some kind of gathering, that meetings group put that together. And then the last group, which basically caught everything else, was kind of our community service, our service group, which had all the different service, club service, youth service was all kind of in that group. And now, including public image. Now, you can see there was a lot of overlap in the groups, which is okay. And then what we did is we just told everybody in the club that you had to be on one of these groups to be in the club. I mean, in a nice way. So because like Ted was mentioning earlier, one of the issues that we had coming out of COVID, like a lot of clubs, we had half of our people actively engaged, and then the other half, like we, see them once or twice a year. So our mission was just try to engage as many people as we can. And so it seems to have worked pretty good, but at the club level, you have a lot of latitude to try to put together whatever works. I mean, obviously every club is different, has its own kind of identity and personality, and you kind of got to go with what works for you guys based on the people that are in your club, because a lot of it will be, the determination, and the level of involvement that the people that are in your club want to participate in. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But thanks.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So there is no one answer. You don't necessarily have to implement this particular chart. It depends a bit on the people that you have. Sometimes changing the terminology. The word committee does have some negative connotations. So you might want to actually eliminate that word committee, if that will help with your participant engagement within your club. What about people waiting to be asked for things? Is your club culture one where people wait around to be asked and have their arm twisted to be in one of these roles, or do you make it more open that you ask for people to volunteer for these roles? How do you handle that in your club? Or do you do like Benson's club and tell everybody they have to be on something?
I'll just tell you for our club, because we are also in a club, and yes, we like everybody else, we're severely impacted by COVID. While we didn't lose members like Benson was talking about, we lost members in the fact that 10 of the 37 are actually engaged, and the other 27 are out there waiting for somebody to come and pull them back in, which is what we're actively working on. So I love your idea of teams instead of committees, because committees is getting some pushback because everybody thinks they'll be in charge, and nope, everybody wants to help. Nobody wants to be in charge. So, I love that approach, Benson. That is a really great thing to ask. I would just like to take one brief tiny moment to just let you know that our district governor-elect, Mark Merriam, has joined us. And then we also have Sandy Matsui, another past district governor, and Nalani Flynn, another past district governor. So some great great knowledge there. And then Nancy Cabral, who is our district governor nominee designate, who will be following Ted, are also on this call. So I wanted to throw them in just so you know the names and have other people that you can ask questions to. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura. This is Nalani. Um, like the rest of you, our club is experiencing the same thing. It's like the board is the one that is holding up the club, and everyone else is on the books. But for participation, when you ask anyone would like to volunteer, everybody looks down or looks up or looks away, but never at you. And so you're back to the board. Okay, let's pick our priorities, which is important, but I like the name change. That's great. This is a teamwork. You know, if we can make it that way, I think that means, okay, we get to work. Nobody wants to lead, but then we need a leader, and hopefully someone will say, okay, I can do this. You work with what you have. And in our club, you know, membership is an issue. Staffing shortage is what I would call it. Age, COVID. Now that people have become comfortable, COVID. So have I. Having to drive to Waianae would be great, but we don't have that hybrid. So I drive there only because I know how tough it is to run a meeting with 0 bodies. But you do what you can with what you have. You may not be able to check everything on the list, but try to set the priorities, what's important for our community. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Nalani. I see Jan's hand raised.
Oops, yes, hi, thank you. I'm sorry, I apologize for coming in late today, but I heard some of your shares about your challenges, and it seems like a lot of clubs are experiencing that. I was a membership chair for years, and when I joined as a membership chair, people thought that I was supposed to be the one to go find members and sign them up and not find their sponsors. And I'm like, no, you do it. And they'd call me, oh, so-and-so's interested. I'm like, okay, you do it. I'll show you how, but you do it. But it always seemed to fall on me. And at the time, Honolulu Rotary won the district award for the fastest growing club. So I went over there and I spied on them, and they shared their membership program with me. It's very structured. I made it for our club, how to get people on board. One of them was to have them a temporary member until they finished what was on the list. One was to meet with every community service chair to find out what they do or are going to do, and then get plugged in instead of being appointed or asked by somebody, oh, a new body, can you be on my committee? You know, for them to find out what they wanted to do and what resonated with them. And over the years that stopped being used, but also I heard from different leaders that they don't want to beg for help. They expect the members to just call and join or show up or ask them for help, which would be ideal. But sometimes you just got to call them and say, hey, you're such a great organized person. You'll be perfect for our secretary. We'll show you how. You won't do it by yourself. Can you help us?
Great, thank you, Jan. What about, does anybody just call people up and say, what would you be interested to help in the club this year? If they don't volunteer? One of the other things we've seen around presidents and other roles in our club is many times people are reluctant to be the sole leader nowadays. But if you say to them, would you be the co-leader, or would you do it for 6 months along with this other person for the other 6 months, that also overcomes some objections and lets some people step into those roles where they might be reluctant to take them on by themselves. Also, if you have a long-term leader in one of these roles in your clubs, somebody's been the treasurer for the last 10 years, or somebody's been in charge of community service for the last 10 years, maybe think about asking them and then someone else to be the co-leader or the assistant leader with them, again, to maybe develop a younger member in your club who's maybe reluctant to step up and take it over, but for them to learn about that area, learn some leadership skills in that area, and be prepared to take it over at some point in time in the club. Another thing, thinking about trying to match club leadership roles with individuals, is just because someone in your club is an accountant by profession doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be the club treasurer. The person who does social media as part of his living maybe doesn't really want to do the club social media at the end of the day, or maybe doesn't want to do it forever.
Right.
So it's also, while people come with certain background and skills, and those may be valuable, you also want to ask, is that something you want to do? And try to find out what is it that they would like to do. They might want to learn something new in Rotary that they don't do in their everyday life.
Right.
And that will make Rotary more fun and interesting for them.
Hey, Ted, we've got, Nancy,
Nancy, thank you.
has her hand up, and I know she's moving around out there. So go ahead.
Hi. Yeah,
Nancy,
sorry, I'm
yes,
still
please.
driving, so I'm trying to drive safely. But and my diesel truck's a little noisy. But I think in our Hilo Club, which of course has just been growing, we're on fire. What one of the things I think we've made a change from years ago. Our club used to feel like membership was exclusive. You had to be something exclusive. And nowadays we're trying to be inclusive instead of exclusive. And I think I'm starting to see that even in terms of asking people to be on committees and serve, because the more inclusive our attitude is, the better we're going to be, including if we have people that are, those in leadership, you can't say, oh my God, I'm working so hard. This is such a hard job. You got to say, this is so much fun, because you want someone to take your place, So anyway, I am to my destination. I've got to go load up a truck, but I'm going to try and keep my ears on you guys. So great ideas. And I want to look at all those organizational charts that I assume will be somewhere in the system in the future. Thank you much.
Thank
Community
you.
service project now. Thanks.
Way to model the way. Thank you. Okay, well, let's move on. Those are some thoughts and ideas and challenges around filling our club leadership positions. But let's move on to the district level and talk for a little bit about district leadership opportunities and what that means. So I think most of you are familiar that our clubs are organized into districts. Districts typically have between 50 and 60 clubs, and a district is really just a collection of clubs, and district leaders are really just people from those 50 or 60 clubs who agree to wear an additional hat that says, I will do something for our collection of 50 to 60 clubs, in addition to what I do in my own individual club. So it's not that there's some organization or there's some paid staff, although a very large district might have one paid staff member, but in our case, we don't. we are completely 100% volunteers. And again, I'll give you my personal perspective. I think that the primary purpose of a district organization, of district leaders, is number one, to support, facilitate, and enable the clubs to accomplish their mission, their action plans. So yeah, we do some things that we organized to do district-wide, like these district learning seminars. But I think the primary purpose and why we exist as volunteers at a district level is really to support, enable, help our clubs to have an impact, to grow their membership, etc. So just in case you didn't know, our district is district number 5,000 in the Rotary world. And I love that. It's an easy number to remember. And we have another easy thing, which is our district is the state of Hawaii. So when I interact with people around Los Angeles or San Francisco, they throw out these district numbers to me. They mean nothing. I have no idea where that is. Ours is simple and clear, 5,000 statewide, all of the islands in Hawaii. We have 53 clubs, 4 Rotaract clubs. I mentioned early as we gathered today, Rotaract clubs have now been elevated to be full members of Rotary. They will start paying a small Rotary International dues fee starting next year. They're being included in more and more of our Rotary processes, procedures, activities, having a seat at the table and a voice in our planning and our priorities. But it's also very much a work in process. We're still all kind of trying to figure out, well, what does that really mean that they've been elevated to full members? And how do we do that? And where does it make sense for them to be plugged in? And where do they want to be plugged in and not plugged in? So stay tuned. That will continue to evolve and change as we learn and we try new things. But that's part of increasing our ability to adapt and to include more and more younger people with new ideas in our organization and help drive our organization forward. And then of course, associated with us, we have 34 Interact clubs at high schools all around the state and 2 community corps. So
And Ted,
yes,
while you're
please.
back on that slide there, I just wanted to add in the fact that we have one new satellite club that has just chartered from the Rotary Club of Hilo. And we have Nestor and Vincent are working on another satellite club on the Big Island. So those will soon be added to the list officially, hopefully. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. And another great opportunity for us to have satellite clubs that are members of the parent club, but can take a different focus. They can meet at a different time. They can have their own bylaws, and they can start up with just 8 people. And once if and when they grow to 20 people, then they can decide, do they want to spin out and be a separate club, or do they want to stay as a satellite club? So with all those clubs and all those people, in our case, it's around 1,500 people. We need a whole set of volunteers to help orchestrate, facilitate, enable all of those clubs and all of those people across the state of Hawaii. So that's where we also have leadership opportunities to work at the district level and work across all of our clubs. So at the top level, we have our district governor, who this year is Randy Hart. We do have a vice governor. We have the district governor elect, who's Mark Merriam, the nominee, who's me, and our nominee designate, who's Nancy Cabral. So that's our continuity of leadership at the district level, at the top level. And that'll be a rolling 3 years, and we'll continue to have conversations with each other and collaboration and sharing ideas and trying to set priorities together so that we're not flip-flopping from year to year, but we're trying to all move forward together over time. We often have a chief of staff. That's not a required position, but usually the district governor will ask someone to be the chief of staff. Certainly there's a district secretary, a district treasurer, for the same reasons that we have those positions within our clubs. At the district level, we also have 10 assistant governors. And I think we have actually been leaders in our district in terms of how we think about and how we empower and how we use this role of assistant governors when I compare it to other districts around the United States. And that may have to do with how we're distributed across islands, that it was just a natural and a needed role for us. So in my view of our district, this is a critical and important role, and one that we need to have strong leadership. Those 10 assistant governors each work with 5 to 6 clubs apiece in a certain geographic area, whether that's an entire island or one side of an island or one part of Honolulu, however that's divided up. And they're really the eyes and the ears and the closest people to those 5 or 6 clubs that they work directly with, to be the eyes and ears for the district, to help them understand what the resources are from other parts of the district, what the priorities are, and also to bring back information from those 5 or 6 clubs of what is it that clubs need help in? How does the district need to better support and empower and enable and facilitate them? And then again, at the district level, just like at the club level, the other most important set of jobs are the district committees and the, I'll call them administrative leaders. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. I did throw in a couple slides here on the district governor role, and in our audience, we have other people who've already done this role, so they're more expert than I am of what that role is. But certainly it's a role that we want to encourage and have people think about. Is that something that you'd be willing and able to do at some point as we rotate our jobs throughout Rotary? Is that something that would be interesting, fun, challenging, and that you'd like to dedicate your time and your effort to do? Laura, since you're more of an expert at this than I am already, would you want to comment on the role of a district governor, and what does that mean, and what are some of the skills and things that would make you want to be a district governor?
Sure, I'd be delighted to do that. And I will tell you that the year as district governor was the most impactful and fun year that I have had in Rotary. Although my year as club president was kind of fun too. So, you know, it's an opportunity for you to serve, to bring your own skill set, your own personality. And as you have been around, you know that every single district governor brings a different flavor and a different, even though we have the continuity, each person puts their own personal stamp on the year that they are serving as governor, the year before, the year after. It's a multi-year role. But the most important thing is the role of the district governor is absolutely exactly what he said. It is that you are there to support the clubs. You're the biggest cheerleader for the district. You are, I attended the Tracy's mediation course this morning. And yes, we used mediation when I was a district governor, because every once in a while you need that. So the role of the district governor is really to just make sure that the district is functioning, the clubs are functioning to their highest level. Hopefully your membership is increasing, and you're able to look with pride at the service projects that your clubs are conducting, and making sure that people in the community know about them. So you go out and you visit every single club. It says you have to do it once. I know every district governor has done it multiple times and will continue to do it. And Randy Hart is coming to our club on Monday, and he says every time I talk to him, that's the most important, that's the most fun he has as district governor, is going to visit the club. So I think everybody will find that. But the role of the district governor is the chief executive officer of our district. They are the one person who is responsible to Rotary International for everything that happens at the district level. They're the one who has to sign all the forms. They're the one who has to start every official meeting. So there is that part of the role, but mostly, you know, it's to make sure your clubs are functioning well, either through using your assistant governors or by showing up yourself and just making sure that everything's going okay.
Thank
That's
you.
my 2 cents.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Well said. Okay, thank you. So at the district level, under the leadership of the district governor, I mentioned we have these district and administrative positions, district committees and administration. According to our district policy manual, there are some standing district committees. So these are committees that every year we put in place, and we need to have people who are willing to serve on these committees to help with the activities of that committee and to help clubs through the actions and the expertise of these committees. A few of these are starred with an asterisk. Those are committees that Rotary International requires us to have. The others that don't have an asterisk are ones that our district has chosen to have on a yearly basis. In addition to these, there are other committees that we typically have each year, but we're not always required to have those. And that's really the discretion of the district governor as to whether we have those other optional committees or not in a particular year. A lot of these, hopefully, you're already familiar with to some extent. The Rotary Foundation Committee is overseeing all of our operations with regard to district grants, both district designated funds and global grants, promoting foundation giving, the Polio Plus Society, all of those activities related to the foundation, growing our endowment fund and the Rotary Foundation, and handling all of the administrative work with regard to those activities as well. Membership development, that shouldn't be a big secret to any of us. That's supporting and empowering our clubs with data about membership, best practices about attracting members, about retaining members, coaching and expertise around how to form a new club, how to form a new satellite club. Laura also serves in a role as new club advisor at our district level. So how do we continue to grow Rotary, get more people involved, help the clubs with their objectives around increasing their reach in their communities? We have a past district governor advisory council that'll actually be meeting this afternoon. So those people in our organization in Hawaii who have served in the role of district governor in the past get together a few times during the year as an advisory council, just to kind of hear about what's going on in the district and to give feedback and advice based on their experience of ways we might want to improve or other things we might want to think about. The slide here says training, but a last minute update should have been made to this, that we've just now changed the terminology around this in Rotary, that we don't have a trainer or a training committee, but we have a learning committee and a district learning facilitator. So Benson very recently got a whole new title, according to Rotary, that he's not training us, but he's facilitating us to learn. I actually think that's a good improvement and a good direction for us to take. So that, of course, is under Benson's leadership and helping us put on seminars like this, not only last Saturday and this Saturday, but actually all year round. And again, we, as I compare notes with other districts in the United States, we are one of the leaders in this area. We invest a lot of time and effort in learning with each other and sharing ideas, getting best practices. The Public Image Committee this year is Josh Laguana and Scott Wishart are the leaders of that committee. And this is, again, helping and empowering the clubs to get their public image out into the communities, as well as communicating what we do district-wide. We have a district conference committee because, of course, we put on a district conference every year. So there's a whole set of people that volunteer to do that. The finance committee that watches to make sure we have a budget in place and tracking that we're not overspending or underspending and reallocating. The nominating committee, which has a role for managing the process and for selecting our next district governor nominee designate. So they handle that process and an interview process for that selection to happen for us every year. The Rotary International Convention promotion, I'm the leader of that this year, thus my Rotary Zoom background and my commercial at the top of the hour. The Youth Service Committee, we also have very active set of people who are leaders in youth exchange, in Interact, in Rotaract, making sure that we're helping our clubs with youth service, and then resolutions and legislation. This was maybe lesser known committee, but looking at how proposed resolutions or legislation gets moved forward to Rotary International to be considered once every 3 years with those different things that we want to propose to be voted on by the entire Rotary International organization for updates to how we do things and what we do. So those are standing committees. And as I said, each year there's also other positions and other committees that typically get filled out. And so this is the current year organization chart from our district governor, Randy Hart. And Mark is very diligent, Mark Merriam's very diligently working on the next version of this that will be coming out soon. But there are other roles that were not on the previous slide, things like an ombudsman, a travel coordinator, an insurance rep, vocational service lead, community service lead. What else was not on our previous one? Just to call out a few right away. You see there the breakdown under foundation, under youth service. Another committee that emerged last year in our organization is the DEI task force. So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That became a Rotary International priority starting when Holger Knopf was the Rotary International president, and that has continued forward now through Jennifer Jones. So again, on that theme of continuity, it started with a Rotary International president 3 years ago, but that's a priority that we continue to emphasize. Keisha King is our district lead for that. And that's an area that I expect will continue to be a priority. Not on this chart, but also got added in this year was a girls empowerment committee. And that's been a very active, very effective committee that includes people from across all of our district, all of our islands, doing district-wide activities or island-wide activities with regard to girls empowerment. Laura, anything else you want to add about these district committees and roles, and how do people get involved in these?
Yeah, I just want to say, usually when this chart pops up, there's usually kind of a collective, oh my God, who knew, right? But I have to tell you that this is actually a very pared down chart. Back when I was a district governor-elect, and it is the district governor-elect who is trying to fill all of these positions, there were some 224 positions to be filled. So thank goodness they are now down to a little bit more manageable. But I will tell you, and I'm sure Mark will chime in anytime you talk to him, this is one of the most exciting and challenging roles that the district governor-elect actually has to fill, which is finding the right person for each of these positions. So what I want to tell everyone here, don't wait to be asked. Please, please get in touch with Mark Merriam, or he's got most of his filled, but you can still talk to him. But particularly get in touch with Ted Fagel and just tell him what you might be interested in. We also warn the district governor-elect, don't say yes to anyone who volunteers. Say, thank you so much for your interest, and we'll get back to you, okay? Because you're going to have multiple people for some jobs, and you want to make sure you get the right person in the right job. But it is so difficult. Please, please, if you're interested in something, let them know so that you can get on one of these committees that you can serve, and then you can become the chair. Oh, I didn't say that. Sorry, no pressure. But there are lots of roles to be filled, and this is really where you find out you get to interact with all the clubs, so that if you're the vocational service chair, you're not just working with, you know, your own club. You're not just working with 5 clubs like assistant governors do, but you're working with all 53 clubs in the district. So it's a beautiful way to learn about Rotary and about Rotary District 5000.
Great, yeah. Nalani or anyone else on the Sandy, anything else you want to add about that?
No, Ted, you did a great job. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, and I will reinforce Laura's point that if you have interest or questions about any of these roles, especially wearing my 2024-25 hat, please let me know, because I want to know if you're interested in one of these roles, and see if we can make that happen. And the key message out of that is, what are the qualifications? You can do it. You are qualified. If you're on this call, you are qualified. So how would you learn more about these? Well, certainly talk to Mark Merriam, talk to me. We'll be more than happy to have a chat with you about any of those roles, or talk to Laura or any of the other past district governors as well. You can also learn more about some of these roles at our Learning Center on Rotary.org. There is a multitude of online courses, and they're pretty short, they're pretty bite-sized, they're really well designed from my perspective. And you can go look at these whenever you have time. If you have 15 minutes, you can go and have a start. If you have 30 minutes, you can complete one for sure. Go online to Rotary.org, My Rotary, log into My Rotary, and then go to the Learning Center, and you can do searches on those roles, and relevant courses will pop up there. Also need to put in a plug for our district. has a learning and development program that we call the District Leadership Academy, or DLA for short. If you hear anybody talk about DLA, they're talking about the District Leadership Academy. I subtitle this as everything you always wanted to know about Rotary, but were afraid to ask. You will be, your head will be exploding with Rotary information upon completion of this program. It's one Saturday morning per month for 8 months. And you'll learn with a cohort of other district leaders. So typically around 10 to 12 people from around the district. So it's a great opportunity to get to know and interact with people from other clubs, other parts of the district, as well as different Rotary subject matter experts come in to talk with you, as well as getting some mentoring from our whole set of past district governors. So if you have any interest in a broader district role, this is also highly recommended that you think about. And if, again, don't wait for somebody to call you up and twist your arm. Raise your hand, call one of us up and say, hey, I think I might be interested in doing that. And we'll get you hooked up with that. So any, we're running out of time, but in our last minute, any other questions or comments that anybody else wants to add about leadership opportunities?
Ted, for this Nalani, for those who are online, for the DLA Academy, is there a prerequisite?
Just have to be a past president. Yeah.
Past
just
president of a
Past
Rotary.
just have to be a past president of a club,
Right.
no matter
Very
how many times you can.
Once is enough.
Good question. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, great job, Ted. We're at the end of the hour, and we really appreciate Ted and Laura chiming in, and the contributions of everybody that's been on our screen today. Just echoing one of the things that Ted said earlier, we have a very literate district in terms of people who know a lot about Rotary and who basically help those that are taking leadership positions. So, if you're aspiring to take whatever leadership position you're looking at, whether it's in your club or in the district, just know that, boy, there's a lot of supportive people that are around to help you every step of the way. So that is one of the, I think maybe the biggest advantage that we have in developing leadership in District 5000 is that you have a great support team of people that want to do it. So I thank you for your guys for your time today. And Laura has one more thing.
Just one question. Can I find out who Tracy is?
Tracy, where are you?
Tracy's iPhone?
Tracy's iPhone.
Do you know who Tracy is? Oh, well, gone.
Believe-
Okay.
I believe that is
Here I
Tracy
am.
Oh, I-
Hargrave,
Yeah, that's
Hey.
Tracy.
Peppa Beach.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Hi,
That's all we needed. Thanks, Tracy.
That's Tracy at
you're
Everbeat.
welcome.
Okay,
Okay.
folks, appreciate your time today. Some of you guys have been here with me since, before 9 o'clock this morning. So you deserve a medal or at least a free lunch. So go for it. Appreciate your time today. We're stopping the recording now, which means that this and all the sessions